Hi, this is Ms. Cooper with a tutorial on cross-hatching where I'll explain also what it is and what it is not. So cross-hatching is when you have crisscrossing lines that make value. And the key here is that they do crisscross, but you can do this in a variety of ways. So when people crisscross their lines to add value, they like to do it in a variety of ways. I like to start with some straight lines that cover all of the area that has some value, even if it's just a little bit. So it does go out into the light area. Then I start adding some lines that crisscross. Mine are going on a diagonal, and they cover a little bit of area, but not as much as those first lines. Then I turn my paper, that helps me, and then I add more lines that crisscross. I'm just adding them now to the area that I need to be even darker. And then I might go back in with some that are in a similar direction as the first lines. And then I crisscross those again. Now I'm going to do some lines that are completely sideways, and I'll extend it out just a little bit more to smooth things out. And so I like to cross-hatch this way, where my lines kind of go every which way, and I can add even more, and this will smoothly blend out but still show some line work. Now, some people do like to do theirs differently. They like to take a neater approach with some more rules that's a little more regular, and this is totally fine too. Some people really like to be very careful about where their lines are. They kind of space them out very evenly, and they crisscross them at perfectly perpendicular angles. Both of these approaches are just fine, but they give a different look when you're finished. So I tend to do the chaotic one. Some people like this really neat one where you're kind of crisscrossing in a very neat way. And you can still take this from dark to light, light to dark. Maybe you go back to adding lines. Sometimes people will start to add thinner and thinner lines in between to make an area a little bit darker. You can see how different this area looks from this one. So this is a great way to add value, especially if you're doing a quick sketch and you don't want to take the time to do all of your shading. Now, cross-hatching is not just smooth shading where you started with one dark value and you did some feather tipping and you went into light values, right? This is just called shading. Some people call it feather tipping, depending exactly how you do it, but that is not what cross-hatching is. Cross-hatching is also not just adding dots to add value. That is called stippling, and I do have a separate video on the basics of stippling. So adding little dots is not cross-hatching, but I will write down the word for you. The other thing cross-hatching is not is like tiny little kind of random dashes. It's not really cross-hatching. These lines don't actually really crisscross each other. It's not entirely stippling either. This is kind of its own thing, and I wish I knew a word for that one. So that is not cross-hatching. Now there is something that is in between, and it's called hatching. So this is when you use lines, but they don't necessarily cross, where all your lines are going the same direction when you add value. This is what I like to use when I'm working with something like ballpoint pen to try to create some smooth value, is something called hatching. So this is very similar, but not entirely the same. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions or if you have any suggestions for future videos. Thanks for watching.